A strategic plan is a multi-layered structure of targets and goals. There are core goals, strategic goals, performance goals, activity goals, and monthly goals. The strategy map deals with the strategic goals, which are commonly called objectives, and provide a link between the core goals, as defined in the visionary statements, and the performance goals, such as KPI or KRA, as defined in the balanced scorecard. What is a strategy map? The strategy map is an active data table or grid with a defined row structure. Each row is called a perspective, and it contains a number of medium-term goals commonly called strategic objectives. Upward pointing arrows are normally drawn between the objectives to indicate either cause and effect or strategic support. From top down there are 4 common perspectives: finance, customer, internal process, and learning and growth. Alternatively, the bottom row is sometimes called research and development, or a combination of these. An extra perspective row or layer is sometimes added to provide a special focus, such as safety when applied to a dangerous environment. The top row is considered to be the organisational public interface, and these objectives should show support for the visionary statements. Inside the map, each row is supported by the layer or row below, as indicated by the arrows. The map objectives are considered to be replacing the earlier concept known as critical success factors. However, you can still use the CSF term by renaming the text objective to success factor. Many people rename the objective to goals or targets. Also, it is possible to add a CSF column into the objective or initiative grids. The map objectives with the arrows are considered to be an enhancement of the previously used value chain concept, which indicated a cause and effect or process flow. Many people consider the strategy map to be a group of linked or companion value chains. Strategy maps can often illustrate a primary critical success factor or objective, such as a funding goal or an overall product quality issue, in which case you would expect to see a number of arrows pointing both towards and away from this CSF objective. There are many categories of strategy maps, and it is possible to classify them in this way. There is a reason for existence, the industry application, map structure types, map phases, map focus areas or themes, and descriptive statements. Strategy maps can exist to define either an organisational operation or a project completion strategy. Project maps are great and fit well into the balanced scorecard scheme, but do this in the knowledge that your map is a project map. Our examples here will deal with third-generation strategy maps, not project maps, but there is much similarity. The strategy map reason for existence is to align the organisational operations with the corporate goals and visionary statements. Strategy maps can also be categorised by the industry style that they are used in. Some industry groups have applied and moved much further with this concept than others. In engineering industries, whenever you have an active layered structure, there will always be issues with the join or interface between the layers. It is essential to have clearly defined cause, effect, and value chain interfaces. These interfaces are sometimes defined using a service level agreement contract, commonly called an SLA. There are 3 basic strategy map structures which are focused on the top row or external interface as the organisational product. For example, a sales department sells operational solutions by reassuring the customer. So what they are really selling is quality customer service and product knowledge, which when added to a tool provides a solution. The top row is always either the customer or finance, depending on the output focus. Strategy maps also have activity and outcome phases, and the definitions of these commonly illustrates the difference between government and commercial. The government stakeholders are the people who pay taxes and vote at the elections. Commercial stakeholders are either the owners or shareholders. Some strategy maps may also define themes or focus areas. These are simply groups of objectives that may range across multiple rows anywhere in the map, for the purpose of applying a shared focus. A theme is any focus concept that can be represented by two or more objectives, and you can choose the names according to your needs. Generally speaking, the use of themes is a less common concept for these reasons. Firstly, there is a lot of design work to be done with a map before you can consider showing the themes, even if they are predefined. Secondly, there are many maps where the existing objectives actually represent themes, as they need to be directly measured. Thirdly, themes or focus areas are sometimes added as perspective rows. However, there is no doubt that when the strategy map is complex, the use of themes will aid the management of a strategic plan. In our drill down dashboard module, the ability to cross-reference the entire database by a theme is a powerful facility. Strategy map descriptive statements. As the concept of the balanced scorecard progressed, users found that they needed to know the description behind the choice of all strategy map objectives. To provide improved motivation, management also needed to demonstrate that these medium-level strategic goals are permanent and defendable. Hence, each perspective and objective should be backed up by statements that explain and defend their existence. These are commonly called third-generation scorecard statements. As mentioned below, many strategy maps have the customer as the top row. However, this is ultimately a decision that the author needs to make. This example puts the finance perspective at the top and shows the perspective purpose statements. When the public external interface layer is finance. In the situation where you have finance as the top perspective row, your external interface is based on monetary success, and you are probably focused on maximizing shareholder returns. The next row below will probably be for customers, as this is your source of funding and therefore supports the finance objectives. Below this again, the internal process rows exist to support the customer objectives. The research and learning row exists to improve your internal processes, and through this it supports the customer and finance. When the external public interface layer is the customer. If you are a customer-focused sales or service organization, then this model may suit you, and it may be that this model also partially suits some government organizations. Firstly, you declare that your primary external interface is the customer, and everything you do is customer-focused. Secondly, if you are non-government, the sales, finance, income link is assumed, so you automatically get increased profit from improved sales to better quality customers. Shown here, the finance perspective supports the customer level. Some finance objectives may not point any higher, in which case they would be supporting the visionary statements. Some people prefer that the finance supports the internal process row, and this then supports the customer layer. If you are a government department, then this may well be the case, and hence you may decide to position the finance row lower down in the map. Design and analyze perspective layers. It is your strategy map and depends on your industry knowledge. You create it by surveying the bigger picture and making a value judgment based on how the layers work inside your organization. It is natural that most people will have difficulty designing and creating strategy maps. This is often because their initial focus is too broad. In creating a strategy map, you are taking a real-world situation and forcing this into a layered structure. It can help if you focus on one perspective row or layer at a time. Firstly, determine your initial focus for each perspective row. Consider the relationship with other adjacent rows. How does this row exist? Is this row in the correct location? Should we define any support agreements? When you have defined your rows and know why they exist, the objectives in each layer will fall into place. Then improve what you have created over time with assistance from work associates. Finally, add third-generation statements that say why you have chosen that objective and where it is heading. So when you have broken the map into layers, it becomes easier to decide the row objectives based on what needs to be supported above. Looking at each perspective row, we can decide what needs to be done from a bigger picture framework. Remember that it is not the job of the strategy map to get involved in applied processes. This is what the balanced scorecard does when it defines how each strategic objective applies to each employee. Creating objectives. Keep the objectives broad so that they can be assigned to people from multiple departments. This allows them to effectively engage and collaborate. The employees will use this to build success-orientated communication links within the organisation. Often you will find that some of your objectives seem to have more of a project flavour, and hence they would naturally have a shorter time focus. They may be important this year, but be changed or removed the following year. One option might be to make them a bit more abstract or general, so the strategy map objective is unchanged the following year. Alternatively, you might choose to merge these in with some other, more permanent objective, then use the KPI or KRA to define the objective goal. Hence you have avoided the difficult task of changing the organisational strategy map in the future. You have assigned the KPI or KRA to deal with this project task and the allocation. The initiative activities can be varied from year to year. The primary intermediate outcome of the objective definition process is to enhance staff focus and collaboration on each objective. Staff should form teams from different departments to focus on each objective. The balanced scorecard should show who else in the organisation is working towards this objective. Objective teams should provide presentations to other staff and take pride in their work. You should expect improved objective collaboration, engagement and performance. Summary. This presentation defines how some people would create a strategy map. There are as many methods and map styles as there are industry groups and categories. We hope that this is useful as a guide for creating your own strategy map. In producing this presentation, we have used row or layer theory to define what a strategy map is and to position it inside the overall strategic plan. We believe that once the rows are carefully defined, it is much easier to create each objective within the row. We provide the following example objective lists below, with the warning that it is industry standard practice not to copy existing definitions. It is highly recommended that you maintain a focus on your own industry environment and work from this platform, and only use the examples as a guide. Thank you for downloading and watching this video presentation.